We want to welcome you to the Alma podcast, Archiving Latino Memories and Achievements, a podcast where we highlight local leaders and their stories.
In this episode, we want to introduce ourselves to you as the co-host of this project, as you will be hearing a different voice each time. Welcome to the first episode. We hope you enjoy it.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Andrea Carranza Olivares. I am 28 years old, and my career is in social services and social work. That's where the bulk of my career experience has been. I'm currently in graduate school trying to get my master's in social work. My hobbies are gardening. I love my plants, hanging out with my friends, dancing, and hanging out with family.
Hola familia. Hello, my name is Eddie Garcia and I'm 29 years old. I have a degree in economics and my career is in finance. I have always really chose the path of sticking to finance. Desk job is my type of job for sure, especially when I can speak finance. It's like another language, right? Some of my hobbies involve pretending that I'm good at golf and golfing. I like to be outdoors, play some soccer, play with my dog, enjoy the sun. And lately I've been getting into gardening as well, but more of the landscaper in me. So that's been really fun.
Hi, everyone. My name is Estela. I am 26 years old. My career is in education. My degree is in English education. My hobbies include reading, crocheting, and journaling. Recently, I took up the violin, so I've been learning how to play that.
Hi, my name is Rigo. I am 32 years old. I work also in the social service area, mainly nonprofit sector, as a program manager. And my hobbies include also playing a little bit of music. I do dabble a little bit with a guitar, not too well, so don't ask me to play. But I also love dancing. I do a lot of salsa and bachata dancing, at least back when I had a little bit more time. And we also wanted to give a quick shout out to...
We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing tech guys who are Jose and Jim off the mic. They are amazing.
And you're listening to the Alma podcast, Archiving Latino Memories and Achievements, a KCBP community radio production. How are we feeling today? How was your guys' day? Rigo, we'll start off with you. How are you feeling?
To be honest, it's a Monday. It's a long Monday, but it's been a pretty good one either way. Starting off a new week. Definitely a little tired from the weekend, but looking forward to what comes and also really excited about this podcast. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yay. Thank you, Rigo. I feel the same way. I feel like it's a Monday, but it definitely feels like a Thursday. It's such a long Monday, and the weekend was short for me, even though I didn't really do much. But I feel really excited for today. I feel like if we didn't have this going on, it would have definitely been a not that exciting Monday. But because we're starting this podcast, I'm super excited. How about you, Eddie? How was your day?
Man, I'm hyped to be here. I'm so excited that we're finally sitting down here and recording. This is a surreal experience. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, all of you guys, for making this happen. And today's been good. It was 83 degrees today. So summer's here. The groundhog did indeed lie. So summer's already here. It's a short spring. But yeah, it's been a decent Monday. Can't complain. St. Patty's Day is coming up. So that's something to look forward to. So exciting stuff.
Yay. Yes, the sun definitely helps with the sadness, the seasonal depression. How are you, Andrea? How was your day?
My day was good. I spent a lot of time at home today just doing some schoolwork, and I had a really amazing weekend with my family. So I feel really refreshed and just grateful to have spent the whole weekend with them. And I also feel really excited to be here with all of you guys. I think we've talked about this project for a while, and here we are, our first session. And I'm just really excited to see where this takes all of us and what new experiences and new stories that we get to learn about here in the Central Valley.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm glad that we can all share and bask in this excitement. But before we continue, we do want to share our mission for this podcast and what you should expect from us. So our mission is to preserve and celebrate the diverse stories and contributions of Latino leaders, inspiring and empowering readers while fostering community engagement. Through this effort, this project aims to serve as a valuable historical resource for both for both the community and educational institutions, ensuring the legacies of today's leaders are documented for future generations and contributing to a more inclusive, comprehensive Central Valley history.
All right. So with that, we'll go into the origins and how this podcast started. I'll go ahead and share my side of the part of it, of the story, because it really was a mind melding, a combination of a project that both I and Estela had. I met Estela after my graduation from the Latino Leadership Initiative here in Modesto. It's a program offered through a city ministry network where we're with them for pretty much 8 to 10 months. And at the end of it, each student has to come up with a project that they want to pretty much put out there for the community, support the community, whether it be related to arts or direct service or otherwise. My project wasn't called Alma, but it was pretty much a story for documenting stories from Latino leaders within our county. And growing up, I didn't grow up specifically here in Modesto or in Stanislaus County. I grew up over in San Benito County. Over there, growing up, going through high school, pretty much everybody that I saw, pretty much everybody that was in STEM, they were all people that didn't look like me. So to give the short version of the story, it wasn't until my senior year that I met an instructor who was Latino. So after I saw him, I went to my teacher and said, hey, I just realized we can do this too. I've always been good at math, always been good at STEM, but never did I say, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to go study this specific field as my major. So it was that kind of energy and that kind of experience I wanted to bring into my recording project, and pretty much recording those stories, sharing them out with people here, with up and coming youth here in the county, to again inspire them, show them that it's all achievable, and really you don't know you can do it until you see somebody else who already did.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Rigo. I met a teacher once that I had mentioned that I'm not that good at math, and she scolded me. She said that we should never say that, especially as women and in front of young kids, because everybody can do math. And so it is one of those situations where you should be empowering young people to go into math. So I'm really glad to hear that story from you. So I was part of the Latino leadership cohort along with Eddie and Andrea previously to the cohort that Rigo was in. And so we were invited to Rigo's cohort graduation. And so my project was also around storytelling and documenting Latino stories. My project was also not called Alma. It didn't really have a name, but I had the concept for it. And so when I was sitting at Rigo's graduation and listening to him talk, it was as if he was me presenting within the last year. And so I really resonated what he was saying. I connected with him. And so afterwards we got lunch and we just started having conversations with each other, and we had a lot of similarities. He also wanted to go into the education space as a math teacher, I believe, and I as an English teacher, but we just both ended up going into the nonprofit space. And so we really sparked a conversation off of that. My inspiration for the project that I presented came from a college research project that I did around resilience within Latinas in the Central Valley. And so some of the individuals that you'll hear that I want to interview in this podcast, I've interviewed before in my project. And so it was really inspiring to hear from women that I knew, their stories. And I knew that I struck gold there because there's so much knowledge, so much information that doesn't get shared because people don't ask and people are not digging deeper. The other source of inspiration was from a book called The Undocumented Americans from Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. And she blends memoir and journalism, and she's really exploring the stories of undocumented people in the United States that have contributed to really big moments in history in the United States, like 9/11. We had a lot of undocumented people go after the 9/11 incident and clean up the rubble, clean up the aftermath, yet they weren't able to benefit from the same benefits that what we call quote unquote citizens can. And a lot of them suffer medical trauma. They can't recover they can't afford medical insurance. So we have a lot of these undocumented Americans that she calls suffering yet they've contributed so much to our country. And it just seems like if she wouldn't have been brave enough to document the stories and tell those stories, a lot of people, inevitably people die off, right? And they take their stories with them. And that's also a possibility. And so stemming from those two inspirations really came about this shared vision that Rigo and I had together, that we meshed and brought in Eddie and Andrea with us. So we brought in Eddie and Andrea to join us, and we really are super grateful for all of their commitment, their work to this. And so I want to hear from both of you, starting with Eddie. Why did you join this podcast? How do you feel?
So against my will, totally joking. It's such a great pleasure to be a part of something like this. Thank you, Estela. Thank you, Rigo, for having this amazing idea. I'm so happy to be here. I met Estela through the mentorship, the Latino Leadership Initiative. My project was not anything close to what this is. My project was revolving around language access plan and incorporating machine learning and artificial intelligence with local institutions to provide more accessibility to government documents, anything related that could benefit the community, more in the health industry, in the government field, and it being more affordable and accessible based on a study of the demographics of the city that it serves or county. Not very related, but definitely it all started with hearing stories of my time doing government work from the people who weren't aware, the people who weren't getting the information of things that benefited, maybe even right outside of their yard, the sidewalks or a new community center around the corner. So if there's one thing I like more than telling a story, it's listening to one. So we're definitely at the right place. One thing that is important to mention is that I get a lot of comments on my presentation that I made. A lot of people say they don't remember anything besides my final story. So I think in the aspect of this podcast and what we're trying to do here, a story goes a long way. Coming from a Hispanic background, that's all conversations are about. Just stories, and you really carry them and you can learn from them. So I think having this platform and having the format that we're going to have is really such a blessing for the community. And what better than us?
Thank you, Eddie. That's so special to hear. Moving on to Andrea, why did you join us and how do you feel?
Just like Eddie, I'm also here against my will. I'm just kidding. No, I really wanted to join and just, I think, be a part of something. I am what a lot of people consider a transplant here in the Central Valley. So I'm actually a Bay Area native. I was born and raised in Redwood City, but I've always had a lot of family out here in the Central Valley in Modesto. And after graduating college in Oregon, I had the opportunity to move here, and it's where my career launched. And I think the same sentiment of storytelling. I love storytelling personally. I love to really paint a picture for someone and be animated and really detailed and just be creative in that way. And I think this will be a really good opportunity to lean into that and also just learn about people. I didn't really have mentors growing up. And so I think right now in the season of my life, I really just want wisdom from experienced people, from Latinos, Latinas next, and just really absorb as much as I can and also be a part of archiving and really keeping stories here. I think it's so important. I wish growing up, I would have had the opportunity to learn more about Redwood City or maybe the Latino impact now. Of course, there's journalism in today's age where that's coming, but I think this is a really cool opportunity to just really be connected with the community in a special way.
Thank you both for sharing about your stories, and we're all going to share longer details of those stories later. But I do want to say, in the age of influencers, I think it is super important to uplift the individuals who have had direct impact into the shaping of the communities that we live in. And so therefore, we should be listening to these local influencers and really just archiving and making sure that when we're telling the future generations about the things that have happened, that they are included in those stories.
And just adding one thing, I think Modesto, we hear a lot about how the creator of Star Wars was here from Modesto, but that's really like the only thing that you hear. I know that there's so much more impact and work and just amazing things that community leaders and members have done here, and how can we amplify those?
Very true. But you're not taking away Star Wars from me. I'm very proud of the fact that's created here.
Yeah, we can be proud of it and proud of so many other things too.
Yeah, we can create our own Star Wars.
Moving into the format of each episode, again, we will be, right now today is mostly just a get to know the crew type of an episode, just getting to know us, because going forward, most of the episodes won't have all four of us here in the same room. It'll be one to maybe two of us interviewing the guest of the week or guest of the episode. Each guest that we have will be pretty much a local leader, a Latino leader from our community who either made great achievements in their career or made great contributions to our county, as well as from time to time we might have other lifelong community members who just have a wealth of knowledge about the county, about our communities, about Latino communities within the county, and they just have impactful stories that we just want to make sure that we go ahead and archive and share going forward.
Yeah, we want to make sure that this project is sustainable in the long run, and therefore it's four of us as co-hosts. We all have 9-to-5s, school, other different projects, life, and so we want to make sure that it isn't a lot of work on one individual, but rather we spread it out. Each individual, one of us, know different people that maybe Rigo doesn't know. Eddie might know people that I don't know. And so that also gives us a larger group to work with.
Yeah. So each one of us will have a passion in a different area. So we'll bring guests that fall in those lines, and to just share a little bit about what each one of our passions are, our stories that we'll likely be bringing in, or what inspired us to bring certain people in. We're just going to go ahead and share. Also, again, to have you, the listeners, get a chance to get to know us and a little bit more of our personality. I think today we're definitely a little bit more subdued just because it's our first episode and there's big, fancy, expensive mics in front of us that we want to make sure we don't break. We'll definitely be coming out to a little bit more and more. Our personalities will as we go forward. With that, Estela, why don't you take us off?
Yeah, thank you, Rigo. So my story here in the community starts off, my mom and my dad are both from Mexico, so Puebla and Colima, and they both migrated here and met here, like I think a lot of our parents. I feel like there's two stories. It's either our parents met here or they met in Mexico and migrated together. And so my parents met here, and the reason why both of them came to this area was because there was already family here. And as we know, Latinos are very community oriented. And my mom had family members here, her uncles, her sisters. And so when she migrated over here, she had that support system already here. And then my dad had his older siblings that had migrated before him. And so I was born and raised here in Modesto, Doctor's Medical Center, and I actually went to school in Burbank and then a little bit of Mark Twain, but then my family moved closer to my dad's job and we moved to Ceres, and I went to school in Pittman, Interlock, and that is where I reside now. When I was growing up, I remember in my head, I always thought my opportunity to leave will be college. That's what was my goal that I was always reaching for. I'm a first generation college student. And so I always said, I'm going to take my opportunity and run with it. And so I left 5 hours away from here when I graduated high school. I left to Cal Poly Pomona. And so I was a Southern California girl for about 4 years. And college was hard. I didn't think it was going to be as lonely as it was, but I was away from my family. I was away from my friends. I had to recreate a community once again. And so in college, I remember looking and searching for other Latinos or other people that shared the same experiences as I did. And as a first generation college student, it's already difficult as it is. But I think when you move so far away, there's other layers that come into play, right? And so for me, it was a challenge, but I graduated. And then during the time that I was graduating, in my head, I was going to stay there and live there. And then my grandpa passed away. And so sometimes situations happen that kind of put things in life into perspective and really shift, and you have to be ready to pivot. And so I moved back home after that, and I was still working from home. I worked at ASI at Cal Poly Pomona. And so that's like a student-led organization on campus. And so for a while when I moved back, I remember just feeling, again, that same loneliness, which was so surprising because I was like, I'm back home. Like, why do I feel like this? And that's what actually led me to have conversations around community building and led me to the Latino Leadership Initiative. And now I'm 4 years in after graduating. I feel like I have that support system and friends and community members that make me feel less lonely. And so that's a little bit of my journey here in the area. And I'm really excited. Growing up, I always wanted to leave. I feel like that's such the same experience that a lot of people have. They want to leave. They want to get out of here. And that's how we lose a lot of talent. People want to say that there's nothing fun to do. There's nothing exciting, right? It's not a young people area. I think when I moved back, I was really like, oh, I can't believe that I'm back. But now for 4 years in, I'm really grateful to have moved back. I think that this is a really pivotal time where we can take over and start shifting the narrative of this area and really start making fun things for ourselves, right? If it doesn't exist, what does it look like for something to exist? What does fun look like for us? And really not having that woe is me mentality, but rather seeing things as an opportunity.
A little bit about me. Like I said earlier, I'm a transplant, so a Bay Area native. My mother is Mexicana, and she is from a little pueblito called Antunes next to Apatzingán in Michoacán. She immigrated here when she was 17 and landed there in Redwood City. That's where she met my dad, and my dad is Salvadorian from San Vicente. My dad immigrated here fleeing the Civil War in El Salvador. He was serving in the military at the time, and things were just getting really rough, I think, once the U.S. got involved. And my grandma just really pleaded him to go up north to get away from it. And so he listened, and my parents met at Sequoia Adult School taking English classes, and they had my sister and me. We're about 6 or 7 years apart, and we're closer than ever. She is my bestie, and I'm a first generation Latina college student. So I was the first in my entire family to move out of state to go pursue college. I'm the first in my family to pursue a master's degree. So a lot of firsts. When I was younger, I can admit I was one of those people that talked about the Central Valley being really boring. I used to always tell my cousins when I would come that, what do you guys do out here for fun? Like, we're just going to go to the park. We're just going to do this like little, what's it called? The slippery slide. And it's just really funny how things happened and life brought me back here. And this community has opened a lot of doors for me and has allowed me to grow in a lot of ways. I got my first big girl job, like I like to call it, at Downtown Streets team. I was promoted into a leadership role, and so I was a young leader. I'm just really looking forward to learning from other leaders and really just growing.
Wow. I love that. And Andrea, great way to encapsulate all that. Man, I just want to copy exactly what you guys said. But on the family subject, man, I love talking about my parents. And before I get into that, I love Modesto. I've always loved Modesto. I am not the person that says it's boring. I can find you out, take a challenge any day. Everything from waking up at that time of the year and seeing the fog on the back roads to going to downtown, the best food trucks, there's some scenery. There's everything. I love Modesto. I'll take you to any part. This is my home. This is where my parents live. It'll forever be special to me. My dad came here to Modesto with my uncles, and he had a crush on my mom, so he called her up, and she was in Mexico, and she was like, he said, hey, if you want to come over and start a family, I'll get you over here one way or the other if you're down. And she came. She was 19. She left her family. She says that she told her parents she's going to go to work, and she just didn't come back for 20 years. So that's a story that inspires me day to day to take the challenge, take those next steps. At a young age, those stories really motivated me to take the next step. My passion is in finance. My philosophy is that finance is another language. I speak Spanish. I went to a bilingual school here in Bret Harte. Shout out the Roadrunners. They are a bilingual school. Being in a bilingual school shaped me, really taught me a lot of value in language. And I really take finance as that another language. Some people find it very intimidating. It is an intimidating subject, but for all that, all it takes is a good translator and a good experience. I consider myself that. And I like to tell a story about when I was at McDonald's with my dad, and we're low income my whole life. I didn't notice it. My parents did a great job giving me everything I needed and wanted and all that. And we were at McDonald's, which was a fancy night out. And my dad he said, "Hey, I asked the clerk here how much a burger is." And I asked her in English. And I told my dad, "It's this much." And then the clerk said, "Hey, if you get two, it's this much and you'll save $1." And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, "Oh man, they got a deal of a lifetime here." And not only did we close that deal with my dad buying the two burgers, but later on, my dad told me something that stuck with me forever and really shaped who I am, how I act, how I treat people. And that was, he said, "Today, because of you, we're both eating." And something simple as maybe 5 or 6 words that I translated really opened up that opportunity for my dad, for me. And it really showed me how much leverage just speaking another language, whether it be Spanish or finance, has on somebody. So that's my motto day to day. So I'm excited to talk to a lot of the people here in the community who, once you get to a certain level, you start seeing the shakers and the movers. I'm really excited to meet just everyone and hear their stories. Like I said, if there's something that I love more than telling a story is listening to one. I'm excited.
We love hearing Eddie's infamous hamburger story. I tear up every time.
I love it too. And the most embarrassing thing happened to me when I presented it at my cohort graduation, and my dad says he doesn't remember it. So it's okay. It's okay. It stuck with me forever. And that's something you can't take away from me.
Yeah, that was good. I'm glad you mentioned something because I also was fighting back some tears right now when you shared that. But yeah, I think a lot of us really grow up with those situations on maybe our parents, or sometimes we don't really put the weight that conversation, those situations really deserve onto them. I grew up in Hollister, so not local to Modesto. I've been here the last 6 or so years. But yeah, I would grow up and I'd be like translating lease agreements and then helping them out with placing orders. And then if there was customer service or something with their doctors, I'd be translating it. And there's a 7, 8-year-old trying to translate medical terms over to their parents to say, yeah, they're going to do this to my younger sibling or whatever. And definitely it's a steep learning curve for us in those situations. And just going back a little bit about myself and my family, and my family's origin started here in California back in like the late 60s, early 70s with my grandfather from my dad's side. He had his wife, he had 2 kids, my dad being the second oldest out of the 4 that they eventually would have. And he just needed to make some sort of an income. Didn't really have an opportunity to do that in Mexico at that time. There were a lot of opportunities for immigrants. So he came over here and pretty much worked his entire adult life in the States, mostly working the fields. I know he would tell me a little bit that he'd do some landscaping and working on like car washes and all stuff like that, just trying to make ends meet, get some money, have something to send back to Mexico because he had his wife and he wanted to build his family a home. So that was pretty much his entire career here, his entire life here. And when my dad turned 17, he also moved over here or started working in California. He has an aunt. We have an aunt who lived in LA at the time. So him and his older brother, 18, 17 years old, both of them came over here, started working, and then working pretty much the same exact type of jobs that my grandfather, their dad, did when he was around their age. My dad's pretty much been here ever since. He's been all up and down California. He knows it like the back of his hand. And you mention a random freeway and he knows exactly where it's at. Or if you tell him a random street, he'll be like, oh yeah, no, you do this and you do that and you'll get there. But he'll definitely tell you in Mexican directions, like you're gonna go north for 45 minutes, and when you see the house with the yellow roof, you're gonna make a right, and then when you see the house that has a little dog and the beat up mailbox, you're gonna go ahead and make a left, and then blah blah, and you'll get there eventually. Not the way our GPSs work now, but definitely would get you there. And he's pretty much made his entire life here. He met my mom when they were around 16, and they got married at 20. Had me. I'm the oldest in my family. At my dad, I think he was 23. My mom was 22. And pretty much as soon as she got pregnant, the paperwork all got done. He brought her over here and they started their life here. Now they have 4 kids, all of us. The youngest one is now 20. We're all up and grown, and they've done a really good job of providing for us. And just like with Eddie, we were definitely lower income families, but we never really felt it. I will say, though, if I did have a version of your burger story, it would be at Burger King because we didn't frequent McDonald's all that much. We were definitely a Burger King family. But yeah, and just growing up the entire time, my parents would say to me and my siblings, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to college. And this is coming from two people that didn't make it past middle school in Mexico. Aside from knowing I was going to go to college, I had no idea what college was. I had no idea where the college was. I had no idea that I had to pick a major until I had to submit my applications my junior year of high school. And that's where, again, that whole story about the teacher and everything came back through. And then I settled on, I've been tutoring at the high school for a few years for the migrant education program, pretty much in math. And then I said, there's a math teacher here, so maybe I'll become a math teacher. And that was what I pursued. My degree is in math. I did graduate from Stan State. However, I graduated during the pandemic, so I really didn't want to do online learning anymore. Luckily, I had a few mentors that were helping me out at the time. I was volunteering for a few nonprofits, and then that led into some part-time positions my last semester at Stan. And then from there, just management positions opened up, and I've been there ever since.
Nice. Thank you all for sharing your stories. I think, all of us being first generation college students, the interpreters for our families, there's so many situations where, as you all are speaking, are coming back into my head of, oh yeah, I lived that. And I remember having to get taken out of school to go interpret for a family member. I interpreted for my aunt one time, and I remember the doctor was so impressed that I knew how to say bruise in Spanish, which was morete, and he was just like, how do you even know that? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just second nature at that point. We should put it on our resumes, interpreters. But yeah, thank you all for sharing. I think that these are the kind of stories that we want to look for in the community, and we want to highlight and elevate and share with you all. And like Rigo said in the beginning, this is not the first that you'll hear from us, and it's not the last either. We will continue to talk about our personal stories, and as we're talking to other people as the podcast episodes continue.
Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Alma Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. It truly means the world to us. A huge thank you to our amazing host, Rigo, Estela, Eddie, and Andrea for making this conversation happen. If you want to stay connected with us, reach out on Instagram at Alma Interviews or shoot us an email at alma.podcast0@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'll leave you with an inspirational quote to carry with you. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Eleanor Roosevelt. Until next time, thank you, familia.